woman just rob you?
That's my wife.
Wow. Well, she certainly seems spirited.
Yeah, she's a spitfire. No, she's just pissed off because I filed for divorce. She didn't ever think I'd be able to afford it.
Looks like money well spent.
Kind of lost the magic. Yeah, ever since Steely Dan stopped touring. You know, I need to find someone only younger.
Yeah, that started off great.
No, I mean, you know, just someone in their womb and can have babies.
You're not good at this.
No, I'm really not. Can you help me?
So I get the house.
Bill just wants to keep his share of GS.
Whatever. I got the house.
Well, good luck to you, Candace. You know, we had a few good years there before it all turned to I hope you find your frog.
Hey, what is GS whatever?
Oh, yeah, that's a little company I'm a part of. We win the lottery every month.
At the beginning of the movie, we meet Jerry Selbee, a soft-spoken numbers man who has spent nearly his entire working life on the floor of a Kellogg cereal plant in the small town of Everett, Michigan. He's not standing in front of company leadership asking for a raise or a new title. He's trying, quietly and respectfully, to convince men half his age that decades of experience should still count for something. It doesn't work. Jerry is told, kindly but firmly, that his production line is being shut down and that it's simply time to enjoy his well-earned rest. Just like that, after a lifetime of setting his alarm before sunrise, Jerry is retired, whether he asked for it or not. That evening, we're introduced to the rest of Jerry's world. There's his wife, Marge, warm, sharp, and far more perceptive than Jerry ever quite gives her credit for. There are their two grown children, Doug and Dawn, and their longtime friends Howard and Shirley, gathered around the table for an impromptu celebration. Between the cake and the toasts, Howard jokingly suggests Jerry join him in real estate, and Doug offers, half serious, to hire his dad as a consultant on his construction jobs. Jerry brushes it all off, insisting he'll be perfectly happy pottering around the house. Then comes the gift. A shiny new fishing boat, the kind of present that says "go relax" about as loudly as a present possibly can. It's a genuinely sweet moment, right up until Jerry quietly admits to Marge, once everyone else has gone back inside, that he doesn't even own a normal pair of clothes. After 40 years in a factory uniform, he isn't entirely sure what a retired version of himself is even supposed to look like. That question quietly hangs over him for weeks. The boat doesn't move an inch. Jerry fills his mornings with coffee, Sudoku, and visits to his old friend Steve, who technically still works as his accountant, though these days it's more of a side gig to his actual job booking other people's vacations online. Steve looks over Jerry's modest life savings and gives him the standard advice anyone would. Put it in the stock market, be patient, and it'll roughly double in about 7 years. Jerry isn't interested in 7 years of patience. Not when he's just spent 40 of them waiting for retirement in the first place. When he finally does take that new boat out, the outing ends in a soaked, humiliating disaster involving a forgotten parking brake and a truck rolling straight into the river, boat and all. Frustrated, dripping, and thoroughly embarrassed, Jerry retreats to the one place that's never let him down, the local coffee counter. That coffee is where everything changes. While he's waiting on his order, Jerry overhears the cashier explaining the rules of a lottery game called Windfall to another customer. There's a strange quirk built into it. Whenever the jackpot climbs past $2 million without anyone matching all 6 numbers, the money doesn't just carry over to the next drawing the way a normal lottery would. Instead, it rolls downward, spreading out across everyone who matched just 3 or 4 numbers instead of 6. Jerry doesn't say a word. He just sits down with a pamphlet, grabs a napkin, and starts running the numbers in his head. And what he finds isn't a hunch. It's a genuine, provable loophole. Buy enough tickets during one of those roll-down weeks, and the odds don't just tilt in your favor, they practically guarantee a profit. Jerry rushes the discovery straight to Steve, who takes one look at the scrawled calculations and reacts about how you'd expect anyone to react to, "I just outmated an entire state lottery commission." But Jerry is confident enough to test it for real. He walks into the bank, asks his teller, Mindy, for $2,000, and promises her he'll be back within days with at least 20% more. He isn't. His very first attempt actually loses money, a modest but stinging $327 down. Somewhere in his formula, something is off, and for the life of him, Jerry can't work out what. He gets so consumed chasing the answer that he barely notices his own life happening around him anymore. During a game night with Howard and Shirley, he's so lost in thought, he can't even keep track of which card game the table is playing. It's Marge who finally coaxes the truth out of him that night, sitting together on the porch. Jerry admits what's really eating at him isn't the lottery at all. It's that retirement has left him feeling like he no longer has a purpose. Comforting him, Marge offhandedly reminds him that good luck and bad luck tend to balance each other out, if you just give them enough time. It's a throwaway line to her. To Jerry, it's the missing piece of his entire formula. He hadn't accounted for one crucial mathematical detail. A small handful of tries proves nothing. It takes real volume before the odds actually start behaving the way the math promises they will. The next morning, a wired, over-caffeinated Jerry is back at the bank trying to explain the law of large numbers to a thoroughly baffled Mindy using a coin flip example. He asked for $4,000. Then $6,000. Then, finally, nearly every cent they have. $8,000. Almost their entire safety net, riding on a theory scribbled on a napkin. This time, the math holds up beautifully. Jerry doesn't just break even. He clears more than $15,000 in profit. Suddenly holding more cash than he knows what to do with, Jerry hides the bundles of bills inside an old popcorn tin in the pantry, a hiding spot that nearly gets blown when his sharp-eyed granddaughter Lizzie almost walks off with it. He manages to swap the cash into a cereal box just in the nick of time. But he can't dodge Marge forever. When she corners him later with a serious, "We need to talk," Jerry assumes the absolute worst and blurts out a full, guilty confession about secretly playing the lottery with their savings, only to realize, a beat too late, that Marge was actually asking about something completely unrelated. Once the real secret is finally out in the open, though, she doesn't get upset. She lights up. After decades of comfortable routine, Marge tells Jerry this is exactly the kind of reckless, alive feeling their marriage has been missing. There's just one problem. Michigan shuts its windfall game down almost the moment Jerry and Marge have found their rhythm. The only place left to legally play it is Massachusetts, a 10-hour drive away. Rather than let that stop them, the couple packs snacks, grabs a cooler, and hits the road. And when they show Steve their math one final time before leaving, even their skeptical accountant can't resist putting in $1,000 of his own. Hundreds of miles from home, at a gas station liquor store, they meet the owner, Bill, who is visibly stunned when this elderly couple casually asks for $16,000 worth of tickets. It takes his printing machine all night just to keep up. Jerry and Marge check into a cheap motel, and in a scene that plays almost like a second honeymoon, they spend the night hand-copying winning numbers off the TV and cross-checking a small mountain of tickets together. By sunrise, they've turned a $5,000 profit. Their strange little system doesn't just work back home. It works 2 states away, too. But here's what Jerry and Marge don't know yet. They aren't the only ones who found this loophole. Hundreds of miles away, at Harvard, we meet Tyler, a sharp, ambitious student who picked windfall as the subject of a throwaway statistics paper. What starts as a lazy assignment turns into obsession the second he realizes the loophole is completely, verifiably real. Unlike Jerry, though, Tyler isn't thinking about his community. He's thinking about how fast he can get rich off it. And he quietly starts building an operation of his own, right out of his dorm room, with nobody else the wiser. Back home, Marge has an idea that couldn't be more different. On the drive back from Massachusetts, she suggests they stop keeping this secret to themselves entirely. Why not let the whole town in on it? More people means more capital, which means bigger, safer bets, and it means their neighbors, plenty of whom are quietly struggling, finally get a real shot at something good. That idea becomes GS Investment Strategies, a legitimate, registered company where locals can buy in for $500 a share. Some pay cash. One resident, Raj, who's short on money, offers up his ATV instead, and Jerry takes the trade without blinking an eye. Howard and Shirley sign on immediately. Their daughter Dawn joins without needing a second explanation. But their son Doug says no, and there's real, old hurt buried underneath that refusal. Doug remembers a childhood spent helping his father chase obsessive little statistical side projects instead of doing normal father-son things, and he isn't eager to relive that as an adult. It's a wound the movie doesn't rush to close. Meanwhile, back in Massachusetts, the operation keeps scaling. Jerry and Marge return to Bill's store asking for $40,000 in tickets this time, and once Bill sees the actual math laid out plainly in front of him, he doesn't hesitate to buy in himself, bringing along a few of his own friends as investors too. Back in Everett, the whole town starts to feel the ripple effects. Every single losing ticket gets carefully boxed up and stored in Jerry's garage, just in case the IRS ever comes asking questions, and the company quietly starts funding things the town has needed for years, including help rebuilding a long-abandoned amphitheater for their once-canceled Jazz Fest. Doug, still holding on to some of his resentment, ends up helping with that very renovation project. It's there, elbow-deep in construction work, that Jerry finally tells him the truth. Doug has actually had a share in the company since day one, whether he ever agreed to it or not. It isn't a grand apology. It's just Jerry's quiet way of saying he never stopped trying to include his son, even when he didn't know how to say so out loud. At Harvard, meanwhile, Tyler's little side project has grown into a full-blown syndicate. He recruits his entire dorm floor, coaches them to ask their parents for school supply money, and has them fill out hundreds of tickets by hand so nothing looks suspiciously duplicated to lottery officials. For a while, everything runs exactly according to plan, until his tech-savvy friend Eric notices their profits are smaller than they should be. Someone else is quietly buying up tickets during the very same roll-down weeks, cutting straight into their windfall. Eric traces the mystery competition to a small liquor store in Massachusetts, and Tyler storms off to confront them, fully expecting some kind of rival crime syndicate standing in his way. Instead, he finds an elderly couple slow dancing beside a bottle of champagne, quietly celebrating a wedding anniversary in the middle of a liquor store stockroom. It's a genuinely funny gut punch of a scene, and it's also the exact moment the movie makes the contrast between these two rival operations crystal clear. Tyler tries pitching a partnership anyway, name-dropping the fancy statistics course that taught him all this in the first place. Jerry and Marge hear him out politely, and then turn him down flat. They've built something on their own terms, with their own people, and they intend to keep it that way. That rejection does not sit well with Tyler. Humiliated and cornered, he tracks Jerry down days later with an ultimatum: walk away from Windfall completely, or Tyler's team will use the access they've already illegally hacked into the lottery's own database to come after Jerry's bank accounts and identity instead. It's not a threat Jerry is willing to gamble on. Shaken, he goes home and lies, first to Marge, then to the entire room at their next shareholder meeting. Claiming new rules have made the game too risky to keep playing. Almost nobody buys it, least of all Doug, who finally tells his father, in no uncertain terms, not to let some entitled college kid scare him out of the one thing that's brought their whole town back to life. It's Marge, though, who lands the real turning point. She reminds Jerry that neither of them has ever been the type to quit just because something got hard, and that doing something a little reckless together has never once let them down before. So Jerry makes a decision. He isn't walking away, but he's also not going to fight dirty to stay. Rather than trying to out-cheat a cheater, Jerry and Marge go straight to the top, requesting a face-to-face meeting with the people running the state lottery itself. Jerry lays the entire loophole out on the table, exactly how it works, and exactly how it's been quietly enriching anyone who understood the math faster than the lottery did, and asks for two simple, fair changes: full public transparency of the jackpot total right on the lottery's own website, so nobody can secretly force an early roll-down ever again, and permission to run a second ticket printing machine at Bill's store. Remarkably, the lottery agrees to both. It's a quiet, devastating blow to Tyler. Without the ability to secretly manipulate the timing anymore, his entire scheme collapses almost overnight. Even his own recruits, uneasy with how ruthless he's become, start walking away from the operation one by one, leaving him to keep playing alone, and badly. There's one more thread pulling everything toward its climax: a local journalist named Maya, chasing this story mostly because her editor is desperate for something that'll go viral. Digging through the state's public list of big lottery winners, she keeps noticing the exact same name turning up again and again and again. When she finally tracks Jerry down in person and sees the real scale of what he and Marge have quietly built: a reopened ice cream shop, a rebuilt amphitheater, neighbors whose entire lives have changed because of a company built on shared profit instead of pure greed, she's genuinely moved. Her editor isn't. A heartwarming story about an honest small town simply doesn't sell the way a scandal does. And a scandal is exactly what all this growing attention eventually manufactures. Once reporters connect both Jerry's group and Tyler's Harvard operation to the very same lottery loophole, state officials can no longer pretend not to notice how much money has quietly been pulled out of their own system by people who simply did the math better than they did. Windfall gets shut down for good. Right as Jerry and Marge are gearing up for the single biggest bet of their lives. Across the state, Tyler's furious father storms into his dorm room and pulls his son out of school entirely. For Jerry and Marge, though, the ending isn't bitter. It's a celebration. The whole town throws them a real, proper jazz fest inside the newly finished amphitheater, with neighbors, Raj included, literally driving tractors full of unsold tickets in for one last count together. Marge admits, half joking, that she wishes they'd hit the actual grand jackpot at least once, just to say they'd done it. Jerry just smiles and tells her he already won the only jackpot that ever really mattered, her. By the time the credits roll, the math adds up to something almost unbelievable. More than $27 million pulled out of 2 state lotteries, completely legally, and poured straight back into a town that used to feel like it was slowly fading away. Not through some Wall Street scheme. Not through hacking, cheating, or blackmail. Just an aging Kellogg's foreman, a napkin, and a wife who decided that being a little reckless together, in their late 60s, might be the best investment either of them ever made. So here's something worth sitting with after the video ends. How many impossible opportunities are hiding in plain sight right now? just waiting for someone patient enough to actually run the numbers? If you're the kind of person who lives for true stories that sound way too wild to be real, you already know exactly what to do. And look, I'm not going to guilt trip you much. But if you leave this video without hitting subscribe, just know that somewhere out there, a popcorn tin full of cash is quietly judging you for it. Drop a comment telling me which real-life underdog story you want explained next. Hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one.